Going deeper. To what extent was Christ empty? There are some who would point to Philippians 2 and say the emptying is evidence that Jesus gave up some or all of his divine attributes. These theories are called kenotic, from the Greek word empty, which is kenosis. There are two camps of thought among these theologians. Those who believe that Jesus ceased to possess certain divine attributes, ontological, kenotic Christologies, and those who believe that Jesus retained all of his divine nature but was limited to exclusively a human life, and instead, as the Spirit-filled man, relied on the Holy Spirit for his miracles and revelatory knowledge. Functional kenotic Christologies. But again, we must see how Philippians 2 focuses on humble service, not Christ's power or ability. Because he added to himself a human nature, there is no reason to believe that Paul is teaching a loss or setting aside of the nature of God. The text does not say anything about a non-use of his divine privileges. As Charles Wesley penned, "Mild he lays his glory by." And it is only his glory that he lays by. He was fully God while on earth, for in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, Colossians 1:19. It is from such evidence, pointing clearly to the conclusion that Jesus saw himself as divine, acted as one who was divine, portrayed himself as divine, and was seen as divine, that the church derived its belief in the deity of Christ. That belief is essential to the life and worship of the church and fatal to the kenotic theory. Whatever the lowliness into which Christ stooped by his incarnation, it was not such as to prevent his disciples seeing his glory. John 1:14. If it had been, if the earthly life had disclosed nothing but human likeness, Philippians 2:7, Christ would never have been worshipped and Christianity would never have been born. MacLeod, The Person of Christ, 2:10-11. Yet even though Christ fully possessed the divine nature and did act through his divine nature, he primarily acted in and through his human nature. He deserves our praises and the greatest servant and the most courageous man who ever walked the earth. Jesus denied himself the exercise of his divine might and energies, but in other directions these energies were frequently put forth. For example, in performing the cosmic functions of the Logos, the Word from John 1, in healing the sick, and in destroying the works of the devil. But they were not put forth in his own interest. In particular, they were not put forth to protect him from the implications of his decision to become incarnate and bear the sin of the world. Never once does he, in his own interest or in his own defense, break beyond the parameters of humanity. He had no place to lay his head, but he never built himself a house. He was thirsty, but he provided for himself no drink. He was assaulted by all the powers of hell, but he did not call on his legions of angels. Even when he saw the full cost of kenosis, he asked for no rewriting of the script. He bore the sin in his human body, endured the sorrow in his human soul, and redeemed the church with his human blood. The power which carried the world, stilled the tempest, and raised the dead was never used to make his own conditions of service easier. Neither was the prestige he enjoyed in heaven exploited to relax the rules of engagement. Deploying no resources beyond those of his spirit-filled humanness, he faced the foe as flesh and triumphed as man.